And any other reported highlights from the others or the other group of three?
Well, not that I recall offhand. We'll go through the pictures here in a minute, and you can see a few things.
Okay. How about any other trips you know of that the planes have been on over the years?
Well, Ken Malicki and I took the Skylane to Colorado and Idaho about 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, my dad was an Airstreamer, and he used to go on these Airstream caravans all over the place. Well, he was in Idaho, and so we were going to fly out and meet him. And we stopped in Denver, just north of Denver, and spent a couple days. And we rented a car and we drove into the it's a national forest out there. I can't remember the name of it, but it's north and west of Denver. And we drove in a big circle. Well, we pulled in there. Let me back up and say, before we went, I'd asked Dick Verdun to go with us, and he said he couldn't because his son was getting married in California, and he was on his way to the wedding, right? So Malicki and I go out there. We drive up into the national forest there, and we stop at one of these overlooks where you can. So we're just looking out over the mountains there, and all of a sudden this van pulls in, and the guy sticks his head out the window and says, "You know where we can rent a Skylane?" And it's Verdun. Just pure coincidence. We run into each other in the middle of this national forest out there.
Oh, that's great.
And we tried to con him into going back and flying the Skylane around the mountains a little bit, but he didn't want to. And while we were there, we hired an instructor to go with us, because being flatlanders, going in the mountains and stuff, and we landed at Leadville. That's the highest commercial airport in the United States. We got a little certificate for landing in Leadville, Colorado.
Yeah, you're talking some density altitude there, huh?
Yeah, I was going in, I was flying, and instructor was, of course, in the right seat. And the other thing I noticed is you seem to be going a lot faster when you touch down. Just an impression. The airspeeds were the same, because the airspeed's based on density, altitude, of course. So, but you seem to be moving quite a bit faster when you touch down.
And did your rollout seem to be longer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then we stayed there for about an hour, maybe. And then when we left, Malicki was flying, and I was in the back seat. So we taxi out, line up, and he gives it full power. This is the scariest thing I've ever had. I'm looking between the seats. Manifold pressure's 20 inches on takeoff. And I'm going, whoa.
Not good.
That's where you want a turbocharger. And that was the scariest thing, is looking at that manifold pressure gauge and seeing 20 inches at full throttle on takeoff.
And was the end of the runway getting alarmingly close?
It was a long runway, and not only that, right off the end of the runway is a huge. If worst come to worst, you could have dove off the end of it and got some flying speed.
Not recommended.
Not recommended at all. But there's plenty of runway. I mean, it was probably 3,500, 4,000 feet. But
what would you estimate, if you can remember, your rate of climb from that airport?
It was only a couple of 300 feet a minute, maybe, depending. Well, we weren't best angle or anything, So.
And do you recall any other trips that others may have taken with the airplanes?
Well, there's, of course, a lot of times I had no idea where people were going. One time we had all 3 airplanes down at Put in Bay together. That was kind of fun. We got all the guys. As a matter of fact, once you're done recording here, I got a picture in there of 219 that was taken on that trip to Put in Bay, but it's before it was painted. It's right. You won't recognize it because it's not the same color.
Ah.
It was gray and in a kind of a putrid green.
Okay. Well, that had to be a fun outing.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
how many guys were able to fit into 3 planes?
Well, we had about 3 guys in each plane. So.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of guys brought their wives. It's just so.
What kind of social activities has the club had over the years?
Basically, there's 2. Christmas party, and we usually had some kind of a picnic in the summer. One of the members would put it on someplace.
Anything else that you can think of, history-wise, about the club that you could share?
I guess not really. I mean, other than I've been a member since '81, and I was vice president twice and president twice. So I've probably been on the board longer than anyone in the history of the club.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Put in more time at it. So.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Alex. It's a
You're
pleasure
welcome.
to hear.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, Alex. Well, tell me another story that you've just related to me off camera.
Well, it was before I was a member of the club quite a ways, and I worked for a company out in Oxford, and they owned a Skyline. As a matter of fact, my cousin worked there and flew the plane too, and they hired me to fly the plane. I was actually also the plane engineer, and I was about to get married, and so I went down to the travel agent that handled all of the bookings for any travel for the company, and I said, I'm looking for a place to go for my honeymoon. And she said, well, I've got a friend who's the manager of the Pioneer Inn in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I can get you a deal on a room. And as soon as she said Oshkosh, bang. So I was able to get a room there. Normally during Oshkosh, during the fly-in, you can't get a room anywhere. But I was able to get one for 3 days before, and then 2 days into the thing. Before, because it actually starts in the middle of the week, so
yes.
we were there the first 2 days, and then we lost the room. But I actually landed at Oshkosh, taxied into Basler, and tied down on the ramp just like I was going to a regular airport.
Oh my goodness.
3 days before the fly-in. So we had 3 days, actually 5 days at the Pioneer Inn, and then 2 of those we spent at Oshkosh at the fly-in. And then when we left, we flew to Copper Harbor. With the idea that we were going to take the boat ferry from Copper Harbor to Isle Royale, just for the boat ride to see Isle Royale. Well, the 3 days we were there was so foggy you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. The whole 3 days we were there. So we wound up just staying in the cabin and at a little log cabin playing honeymoon.
Not a bad thing to do.
Watching the Little League scores on Thunder Bay TV, because that's the only TV they got was Thunder Bay, Ontario. So.
I'm surprised you even turned on the TV during that.
Well, you know, I need a break from time to time. Wife always complains. She walked up to the lodge, which was kind of uphill, maybe 200 yards, to get a pot of coffee. And she's always bitching about having to go get the coffee on her honeymoon.
You trained her right, huh?
Yeah. Well, you got to break them in if you want them to.
Oh, that's great.